Welcome to this guide to information sharing top tips video with me, MrSealyp. So you've decided for whatever reason to download Farming Simulator 22. You might have bought it, but on PlayStation Plus it is free this month and you may have downloaded it free on an impulse. You may not want to tell people, you may be a little bit embarrassed, but don't worry, we were all there at one point. It's incredibly addictive. And this, I'm hoping, will be a kind of guide to some starter things I wish I'd have known when I started playing, but also a few things to help you out when you first get into the game. Explain a few of the menus, explain a few things that you might want to know, and give you a bit of guidance and a few top tips, I think. Now, this can in no way cover everything. Like any game that is huge and expansive, and most games when they come out you will start at a very base level, and as you progress through the game more and more things unlock, more and more things become available, more and more things become obvious, and you will learn new skills as you go. This is no different. I cannot possibly show you and teach you absolutely everything, but I can give you a few tips and tricks and ideas of things that might help you to get started and explore and try out a few things. So I hope that helps. Now, a few things to be aware of at this point. If you have downloaded this free, as far as I'm aware, you just get the Farming Simulator 22 base game. Now, we are in the second full year since this game released. There are 2 season passes available, which have DLCs within those. Each of those season passes is €39.99 in euros. That will differ depending on what currency and what country you are in. The year 1 season pass brings 4 packs. There's an Antonio Carrero pack, which is tractors, a Kubota pack, also tractors, a Vermeer pack, which is a lot of baling equipment, and then you've got your first big platinum expansion to the game, which brought a new map, new logging equipment, and a big update to forestry. So you may want to download that. Now, you can play Farming Simulator 22 without having the season passes, without having any of the DLCs at all. You don't need them. That's absolutely fine. You can just crack straight on with whatever you've got. You may find, if you do get a bit addicted, you may find, actually, you know, I do want to experience a bit more. You might want to invest in getting those season passes, but you don't have to. It is not imperative. The second of the season passes is the year 2 season pass, which we are currently within. That brought out a Gportal pack, which is more baling equipment, hay and forage pack, the horse aggravation pack, which brought another new map, which takes the base game maps up to 5. The oxbow pack, which is a lot of grapevine, vineyard, muck spreading, slurry spreading equipment. And then we are rapidly heading towards November the 14th, which sees the next big expansion to the game, the premium expansion. That will bring another new map, Zalonka. It brings 3 new crop types. It will bring new machinery and equipment, new buildings. It's a very, very big expansion. So if you have got on board, you're at a very critical time, I guess, within the game. And then after that we are rapidly heading towards the year 3 season pass, because the new version of the game, and this is not set in stone, is likely to be released this time next year. So it will be in November time 2024 is what we think, if it goes in a 3-year cycle, which is kind of the assumption at the moment. But like I said, you don't have to have those. Now what I'm going to do is explain this menu to start off with, and then we'll go through and we'll have a look at a few options and a few different things that are available. So the first thing you will be encountered with is this menu, and you've got the career option. The career option, and your screen will look like this. You will have empty slots. There are 10 save game slots. Now I'm playing on console, I'm on PlayStation 5. Obviously it's available on PC, it's cross-platform, PC, console, PlayStation, Xbox, and new gen consoles as well as old gen consoles is where, you know, it is available. But you'll have empty slots like this. So this is where your new save game will start. We'll get back to that in a moment. We've got a multiplayer option. You can play cross-play, so you can play with other people, cross-platform. So if you're on console, whichever console it may be, and you want to play with your friends who've got PC, or you're on Xbox and your friends are on PlayStation, you're on PlayStation, you're on Xbox, you can play cross-platform. That's no problem at all. This does have some other options as well, and a lot of these menus can be a bit overwhelming when you first start. So again, I thought I'd just sort of jump in. So if you're the sort of person that you've just turned the game on and you just want to go hell for leather, jump in and just really go for it. You can just join a game. You can go on multiplayer, join a game, and join in with other people that are playing. There are some other menu options. Like, I'm not deep diving into this at the moment. This is just like when you get started. You can create your own game if you want to. And now we've got these. Now, competitive. Farming Simulator has the Farming Simulator League, which is an esport which you can watch. And they go online regularly for competitions with teams entering from all over the world, from all different manufacturers, but you can also enter your own personal teams. Now, in here, you can come on and you can practice with 2 other friends. Or you can come on your own if you want to, but it makes it a lot easier. And you can have a go, or come on here with lots of other friends, and you can have a go at doing the Farming Simulator League experience. So this is an arena mode. Again, I'm not going to go into that, but there's an introduction, there's some information there, offline practice, custom matches, and you can create your own. Then we've got bale stacking. Same thing again. You can come on here and you've got 6 arenas. You can play against your friends, and it's a competition to stack bales onto a trailer as quickly as you can. Fastest time wins. Again, you can practice that offline on your own. You can join up with your friends. It's great fun, but those are some multiplayer modes you can have a look at. Now, as I've already said about DLCs, what we do have is a massive modding community, which is quite unusual on console. There are a few games. SnowRunner is one that does have a modding community on it. Most console games don't have a huge modding community. Normally it's PC only. Now, if you're on PC, you can access third-party mod sites. My advice would be, if you're starting out, obviously if you started this and you're on PlayStation Plus, you won't have the access to that. So if you're on console, you can't access third-party sites. So that's what this is for. Downloadable content, if you click on that, takes you to the mod hub. So modders can submit things to Giant Software, whether it be vehicles, machinery, buildings, production chains, and again I'll go into all those, what those things mean. They get tested, and if they're accepted, they get put into the mod hub. Now, generally speaking, we get new mods daily. Not always. We've had a bit of a lull at the moment, but this is refreshed a lot. Now, bearing in mind, I already said there are 5 base game maps with the 6th coming soon. So that's 6 maps. So for example, if I just click on the map option, and you will see just how many maps are available that have been put into the mod hub by external modders. And there is something for absolutely everyone. Different places around the world, different styles, different landscapes, different difficulties. There is something for everyone. But as I've said, this is looking at a sort of, you're starting out. My advice would be start on one of the start maps. That will become obvious why in a moment. But you can come into this mod hub, and as far as installing, downloading, it couldn't be easier. If, for example, if I go onto small tractors and I scroll around and I find one that I think, oh, I like the look of that, there's a particular brand or a manufacturer, or you might not know, you might not care, you might just say, you know what, I like the look of that. If you click on it, bottom of the screen, it will give you the option to install that mod. If I click on install now, it will say it's added to the download list. If I come back out of there, you can see it's gone to 100%. That mod has now downloaded. Now I've got console storage, top right, you can see that, how much storage you've got. Now, depending on whether you're on new gen or old gen consoles, will depend how much room you've got for storing mods, maps, buildings, whatever it might be. And then you've got all of these different categories for trailers and different machine types, cotton technology, beet technology, potatoes, grapes, olives. I mean, the stuff you can do in the game is huge. I mean, absolutely huge. Cars, vehicles, trailers, seeders, planters, sprayers, fertilizers, and again, I don't want to overwhelm you, but it is here. Just to make you aware, this is all here, including gameplay, decoration. Now, the only thing I would suggest if you're starting out that you should absolutely download immediately is under gameplay, and it's this, the government subsidy sign there by Realismus modding. If you don't download anything else to start off with, I would suggest download that, because that will help you out for getting started. Just to experience the game and have a play, download that mod. That's my first sort of top tip bit of advice. So anyway, that's downloadable content. If you're a collector of things, there are trophies. So I've only done 37 out of 46. It's a big thing. Some people will often ask, you know, have you completed them all? It's not something I'm not that bothered about, but as you do certain things throughout the game, you will unlock new trophies. So if you're a collector of trophies and things, there are some trophies that can be collected. There's the PlayStation Store, which you can jump into, and obviously depending on what platform you're on, that will give you access to extra DLCs. So you can buy each of the DLCs. You don't have to buy the season passes. It will give me access to the DLCs, so you can download individual ones. There are some that were free. There are some that will cost you money. You know, that's just part and parcel of DLCs. That's just the way the world works. We get our options screen. Now this is fairly straightforward and obvious, but I'll go through it anyway. Invert Y look. That's fairly straightforward. You're up and down. You can invert that depending on what your style of gameplay is. Field of view, that's when you're in a vehicle, that will expand your field of view out. Now, I set mine on 65. That seems, for me, more realistic. You might not like it. You might want to expand it. I feel it goes a bit stretchy if you go too far, but that's your choice. In-game HUD scale, that will become obvious when we get into the game. I'll show you the HUD in the top right hand corner of the screen. I have mine on 85%. You can see it, but it's not taking up too much of the screen. Again, that's your choice. You can adjust that. Brightness, fairly straightforward. You can set the brightness. Realistic beacons on or off. That's on your next gen console. So if you're on a new gen console, say next gen, the latest gen consoles, realistic beacons give you a flashing effect of the beacons on a vehicle on the surroundings. So whether it be trees or buildings, those beacons will flash on and off. You won't have that option on old gen consoles. Volume master, so these volume settings are fairly straightforward as well. You can adjust your volume master, the overall one. Music volume, because I'm YouTubing and putting out content, I have that off because I don't want music playing. Then you've got your vehicle volume, environment volume. You can adjust those to your taste, however you want. Radio volume, there is a radio option within the game. You can have a radio playing. You can have that in the cab of the vehicle. You can get out of the vehicle and it stops playing, or you can have it playing the whole time. Again, because I'm doing content, I have that turned off. Then the GUI volume, if you listen at the moment, hear that clicking as we go up through the menus? That adjusts your menu sounds. If I turn that to off, and then apply, and now I go up and down my menu, nothing. I'll put it back on because I do like it on 10% and apply. I'd like to hear that click, but again, you might not want it. You can take it off, or you might want to turn it up. It depends again on your hearing and how you. Now on PC, that will be, you have a lot more options and a lot more menus, but that's what I've got on PlayStation 5. And then you've got your credits, which is fairly straightforward. So we've looked at downloadable content, that kind of thing. Now we come to the first time you're going to have a go at a game. You're going to put something on. What does it all mean? Well, we start off with our empty slot. Click on our empty slot and we've got these options. And again, you might stop and think, what is happening? So you've got easy option. You already have some land, some equipment. Your economy is pretty good. And most elements are on the easy setting. Now, there are some settings within the game, so you can still adjust within those, which gives you a bit more option. Then you've got Farm Manager, which is your medium setting. So they say this is the standard setting because you can change the settings within. I always start, my advice, my top tip when you're starting out, start on New Farmer. It makes life a lot easier to get going and experience the game. A lot of people that have been playing for a long time will say, oh no, you should start on this, this and this. If you've never played before, jump on New Farmer. Don't worry about it. It's no big deal. You can come back out, you can start a new save game, you can delete that one and start a new one, and you can go again. If you decide what you've done is all wrong, that's not a problem. Delete it, come out, start again. No problem. So Farm Manager, you don't own any land, but you do have substantial funds. I think it's 1.5 million. So you don't own any land, anything to start with, but you do have a fair bit of money that you can get going with. Economy's pretty stable, prices are pretty good. That's okay. Then you start from scratch as your hard mode. This is a real challenge, and it really is a challenge. The economy is rough, prices are low, you don't earn as much. There are contracts available in the game, so you can work for other people, and you can earn a bit of money doing that. But the payments for each of those, on easy mode, the payments are pretty good. Medium, they're okay. And then hard, it's low. And it's a slog. It can be a bit of a slog. I wouldn't suggest starting on Start from Scratch if you've never played the game before. But all these things as you go, I mean, you're talking about people that are, I mean, myself personally, thousands and thousands and thousands of hours in. And that's no exaggeration. From Farming Simulator 15 to 17 to 19 to 22. You will often hear people refer to as FS instead of saying Farming Simulator, FS22, FS19. So if you hear that terminology, that's what it's being referred to. I would suggest start on easy. So if you click on that, that then gives you your option. Now you will probably just have Elm Creek, Oberon. So you've got Elm Creek, which is an American map, Oberon, which is a French map, and you'll probably have Erlengrat, which is an Alpine map. Now, if you've got the DLCs, if you decided to go the whole hog and jump in, you might have Silverrun Forest, which is the Platinum expansion, and you'll have the Horse Aggravation, that's in the Year 2 Season Pass, that has an extra map. Anything over and above that, so if you've downloaded any maps from the Mod Hub, they will then be after that, and you can pick anyone you want. But we'll start with a base game map because it just makes more sense. This would be my advice: start on one of these ones, Elm Creek or Oberon, because it gives you some other options when you first get going. When you first click on that, you then get this screen, which again you might think, okay, now if you haven't downloaded anything from the Mod Hub, you can jump straight into the game. If you've downloaded anything, it gives you the option to select or deselect individual mods. So I can click on a mod, select it or deselect it. Now that will give you those mods availability within that map. And you can tailor this on every single map, every single save game. So you don't have to have them all on or all off. I can deselect all if I want to, turn them all off. But the one I do want to have on, which is what I said, and I've got a whole load here because obviously I've been playing a lot, is the government subsidy sign. So I'm going to put that on. Okay? That's just going to help out a little bit. Once you've selected all the mods you want, and double check that. There's nothing wrong with double checking anything. You might go into your game and think, well, have I downloaded a mod? I've gone in, I can't find it. Come back out. It might be you just haven't selected it. So select it, and then we're good to go. We press start, and the game loads. Once we hit 100%, we're good to start. So when we start, we get this menu. We have character customization. I'm not going to go through all of the options on this, but our shoulder buttons, L1 and R1, will take us through the various different options of characters, hairstyles, beards, moustaches, outfits, full outfits, branded outfits set in game, individual items, tops, trousers, footwear, headgear. I mean, you can tailor this if you're doing particular jobs within game. In game, you will have wardrobe points where you can go and you can change your wardrobe for a specific role or job. If I go back to outfits, you've got beekeeping. You know, you've got so many workman's gear, and you've got chemical outfits and sort of a cowboy, rancher, wrangler. There's so many things you can go with. It's entirely up to you. But one thing I will say about this menu, if you look at the menu to the left there, you've got an option there that shows a paint bucket. If I click on select colour, the options are down the bottom, select colour, you can change the colour of certain items of clothing. It seems obvious, but it's you know, it's worth pointing out and showing that it is there. So once you've chosen everything you want to on there, you've picked and chosen. Obviously, as far as characters go, there's not everything for everybody. You kind of go for the closest approximation, or just make up a completely new character. It might be time to reinvent yourself. It's entirely up to you. We hit confirm, and then you get this. Welcome to Farming Simulator. Would you like to start a short guided tour? This will show you the basics of the game. My advice: absolutely do this if you've never played before at all. It's invaluable. Unless you're that confident, you think, oh, I'll just pick up as I go along. And again, you don't have to. You can switch off that. I'm going to click yes, and it will give you some options here for your guided tour. It gives you some information about buttons to press and things you can do, toggling map view, player movement, and player view direction, that kind of thing. If I click OK, it says I had to go to the harvester. So I've got my player direction, my control. Top right, you can see our HUD. That's at 85%, so you can go smaller, you can go larger with that. My next piece of advice, top tips. Top left is your help window. Now, to access your menus, you want to press your options button. Now, the guided tour option is there. You can turn that on and off if you want to. It says at the bottom of bought guided tour. I'm not going to go through all of these options straight away, but what I would say, if we go into this menu here, general settings, again, shoulder buttons, L1, R1. This one for general settings, top one there says help window on or off. If you're just starting out on the game, absolutely have that help window on. I would also suggest if anything new comes out, if you're trying a new piece of machinery, a new piece of equipment, you've downloaded a mod, you're having a go with something new, have that window open. The reason being that under L1, R1, L1 and R1, that gives you all the control options for whatever piece of machinery or equipment you're in and operating. Have that help window open. It will make a massive difference. Bottom left is your map. L1 and my left stick, pressing down on that, will open up You've got your map menu that orients as you move. You've got a fixed one, so you move within the map, or you've got a larger one which might help you. There is a map screen as well, which we can jump into, which gives you a much larger map, which we'll have a look at in a moment. Top right, you can also see it saying there's a little 5 there under the time. My next piece of advice before you get going at all, because that's how fast the time is progressing. If we go back into this menu and we go up one to game settings, the next thing I would do absolutely is auto save intervals. If you want the game to auto save for you because you've got a terrible memory and you don't do it, you can adjust that setting. So you can have 15 minutes, every 10 minutes, every 5 minutes, that will automatically save the game, or you can turn it off. I turn it off because sometimes if you do something that you regret doing, you make a mistake, you do something wrong, if the game auto saves as you do it or straight after it, that's it, it's saved. For me, having it turned off gives me the option to do something. If I make a mistake, I can come back to my previous save. Again, that's entirely your choice, but the time scale can be adjusted. So my time scale you can have on real time. You can set it to half speed, so time passes much slower. But then we can also go right the way up from real time, times 2, times 3, 5, 6, 10, 15, 30, 60, 120, 240, 360. That will speed time up like a rocket. You can also jump ahead entire days. We'll get onto that in a little while, but again, don't worry. Now, I said as well about the economy. We started on New Farmer, which was easy, but within the game, if I'd have gone easy, Farm Manager, or Start from Scratch, which was the hard mode, I can still set my economy difficulty within here. Easy, normal, or hard, once you're within that save game. So you have got a lot more control of that. But like I said, what I would do is I would set my time scale on either half scale or real time, so that when you start out, time's not rushing past you. You don't want to come on here and feel overwhelmed. Just take your time, don't stress. If anything goes wrong, anything happens, it's not the end of the world. You can come back out the game, you can restart. Depends how you've set your saves, whether it's auto save intervals or you're going to save yourself. That's entirely up to you. But like I said, I would follow the information. When you come to here, it tells you about the guided tour. This is one of your fields, gives you your information, and follow those tutorials through and it will give you a real good guided tour. Now, you don't have to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back into here, come back to guided tour, I'm going to abort that guided tour. Now, if you want to start the guided tour again, you have to come back in and start a new save game. So be careful with that. This is a good time to point out that as far as guided tours go, if you go onto, and the link is in the description for the video, if you want to go onto the Farming Simulator website, the Farming Simulator website has regular blog posts. They have information about new games where you can purchase them if you're on PC. It has all their media on there. They are on Discord, they're on Twitter. I don't think they've got a Facebook presence. It's information about DLCs. Mods get put into there as well, so when new mods are being uploaded, they will appear on that website sort of pretty much straight away. But the important one on there is tutorials. So if you go onto that website, you've got there what they call the Farming Simulator Academy. So whilst you can follow this through and you can learn how to do stuff by following the guided tour and learn how to do a few jobs, if we come back into this menu and I scroll right the way down using my shoulder button, or I can go from the top, go the other way to the bottom here, you've got this help window. This help window is incredibly useful. And it gives you all information, first steps, icon overviews, farming basics. There's tons of stuff in here. It's not always as easy to understand or follow if you're starting out new, but it's here and it's helpful. When you get to the very bottom of this menu, go all the way down, and like I said, there's tons to look at. I'm not going to go into every single one. You've got the Farming Simulator Academy, so you can do that QR code, or you can go onto the website. Now, the Farming Simulator Academy has video tutorials of how to do certain things, which is great. And again, it works. It's not always as clear as it could be. So at this point, my advice and to tell you is there are tons and tons of YouTubers, including myself, out there putting out content on a daily basis, whether it be reviews of mods, so there'll be mod reviews, there'll be map tours when new maps come out, there'll be something which is called a let's play or a gameplay playthrough, where they will do either a storyline or a role play, or they will play on a map and you can jump on, you can watch. They will live stream various different things, so you can watch live streams of people doing stuff. And then there are tutorials, guide to videos and how-to videos on pretty much everything. And like I said, there are a lot of really fantastic YouTubers out there and content creators putting out content on YouTube and Twitch and, you know, on a regular basis. My best advice, and it was when I started out, is what I did. I find the Farming Simulator Academy a little bit clinical. If you're looking for a more personal kind of touch to it, something you can engage with a bit more, if you search up Farming Simulator 22 or FS22, and then whatever it is you want to look for, so guide to, tutorial, how to, and then whatever it is you want to learn, you will find videos on pretty much everything, which is, it's fantastic. It's a fantastic community. The other thing I would say, if you go onto the Farming Simulator website, they have the giant software forums. You can go onto the forums as well. They can be helpful. You know, in any forum, in any community, you're going to get negative Nellies. You're going to get the people that are professionals that have been doing it forever and know everything. Like I said before, just don't be overwhelmed. Most of the YouTubers and content creators will have a social media presence, including modders and map makers out there will have some kind of social media presence. I have a Discord server, again, link in the description, as do a lot of the other YouTubers. Most of the Discord servers, and including Farming Simulator, they have got a Discord server as well. Jump on, you will get lots of advice, lots of help. If you're stuck with anything, then there are always people on the Discord servers that can help you. Another piece of advice: don't be afraid to ask. The only silly question is one you don't ask. If you're stuck and you know, you might not be panicked, you don't want to get to a point where you say, oh, I'm not doing this anymore, and just stop playing. Because I'll be honest with you, it's one of those games that grips you and it hooks you, and yeah, you can have a fantastic time on it. So that's the next piece of advice. Now, if you want to go down a side, actually we'll look at the menus. I think that's probably the best thing to do now. So we go back into here and we go up to our menus. So this is our menu settings. We start off, though, that was by pressing our options. So we've got our main map. So you can go into your main map. As I said, you've got the smaller map, and then we've got information on this map as well. So you've got crop types, scroll across, you've got growth, shows you what stage your crops are in, soil composition, so whether you've got weeds, whether they're fertilised, whether they need lime, you know, again, this is going further down the rabbit hole, but these are all the options. You've got filters to turn things on and off, so it will show certain things on the menu. If you're finding the maps a bit overwhelming, there's a lot of icons to look at. And we're back to crop types. Now, something you can do from this main map option, if you can zoom in and out, it says down the bottom what your options are. You can click on something, for example, there, the grocery mart, and you can tag the place or you can visit the place. I will tag the place and come back out. That's now flashing. And if I turn around, you will get a lightsaber of lights. So if you're not sure where something is, if you're doing a contract or you're, you know, whatever it is you're doing, you don't know where something is, that will give you a clear marker that goes right up into the sky for you to head towards, which can be very, very helpful indeed. But if you want to jump straight to somewhere, if I hit that again, I can untag place, but I can visit. So if you don't want to walk everywhere, you can jump straight to a location. You can check it out. My next piece of advice, search the map. Get in a vehicle, drive around, explore the map. Just familiarise yourself with it. Look at all the features, look at all the terrain. It's what a lot of people do when they do their map tours. But we can jump straight to there, and if we've done that, we can jump straight back to the farm if we want to. We're back at our farmhouse. Now, I said about skipping through. We do have sleep triggers. There are loads available in the mod hub, but you can skip ahead to the next day. So we can set our time, and we can jump ahead from 5 AM through to 9 AM the following day, and we can jump ahead an entire day if we want to. Why is that important? Well, if your crops are growing and you want to speed things up and you want to get ahead a little bit, you might want to jump ahead to the next day and get onto the next thing. You might want to jump 2 or 3 days ahead, which brings you back to the menus again. So we've then got active workers. You can hire workers to do jobs. If I click on a piece of equipment or machinery, it gives me an option to create a job, set a destination. Again, this is a little bit further down the rabbit hole, but just to show you the options are here. So if I click create job, you can have go to. I haven't got a crop or anything attached to it, so you can set a place it will go to. If you've got crops, you can get it to deliver your crop and come back. You can set it in a cycle that will go around. If I come back out of there, you can just set destination, so you can pick a target location. If I click on, I hope this is going to work. Let's just pick on a location down the road. Click on that, select it, select that, and what should happen now is you'll see the worker is now taking that vehicle and it's driving it. That can be helpful for moving stuff around the map, for delivering things. Again, that's, I say, a little bit more advanced when you're first starting out, but it is there on the option. Next, we've got our crop calendar. So if you have got seasonal growth on, we'll talk about that option in a moment. This tells you when you can plant and when you can harvest your crops. It also gives you an indication of how long it takes your crops to grow. So you'll have to wait a period of time once you've planted your crops in the ground for how long they will take to grow. That's your crop calendar. Again, I'm not deep diving into this. There are tutorials and videos of how this all works, but this is an option. You've got your weather. That plays an important part. You get snow if you've got snow turned on. If it's raining and you're trying to harvest, you can lose crop. You won't get as good a yield if you're harvesting in the rain. But the weather cycles are fantastic and dynamic and just brilliant. Then you've got your prices guide, another very important screen. All the various different crops and crop types and productions you have in the game are all in here. Everything. We can scroll up and down so you can pick whatever it is you want. For example, I might go for soybean. If you want to know where you can sell that soybean on any map, you come to the prices screen, then go across, and it will tell you where you can sell it and what the current price is. Those prices will fluctuate throughout the year. You'll get peaks and troughs when things are worth more and when they're worth less. So if you're not sure where to sell anything, and again from this screen, if you're not sure where one of those sell points is, down the bottom it says tag place. If I tag place, it puts that lightsaber up into the sky and you can find the sell point. So for prices and where those sell points are, that's an important screen to know. Vehicle overview, not as important, but this will tell you how long you've owned a piece of machinery, its repair, its state of repair, whether it needs work doing to it, whether you need to repair it, you know. And then you've got what the value of the vehicle is. We've got a finance screen, which at the moment is nothing. Some people love the finance screen. It's not something that's ever particularly bothered me too much, but it will tell you what your balance of your account is. You can take out a loan, whether you've got a loan or not. If you look down the bottom of the screen, it says borrow. So this is one way we can put money in. If you want to borrow money to be able to enjoy more and do more, you can borrow money from the bank, but then every day you get charged interest on that. That's entirely up to you. That's one way of doing it. If we come down, you've got animals. I've got no animal pens yet, but if you get into animals and doing livestock, which you can do, that will tell you what your pens are, the state of your pens, your state of your animals. Again, this is not a deep dive into that. This is just a start guide. Contracts, as I said, on maps, contracts are available. There's a contract being offered to me. I've got options here. I can borrow those items from the farmer, and if I borrow those items, I'll lose a little bit of money on that contract because I'm borrowing from the farmer. But I can do that contract, I can take that crop to wherever it's saying it needs it to go, to the Johnston's Farmers Market, and I'll be paid for doing that contract by that person. Now, if I own all of that equipment, as you get further through the game and you say, well, I've got a harvester, I've got a tractor, I've got a trailer, then you can just accept the contract. You don't have to borrow items. If you accept the contract and use your own equipment, you get the full value of the contract. So contracts are available. Production chains, I'll talk about those in a minute. Then we've got our statistics page. Again, if you're into your statistics and what things that you've used, how much you've used and all that kind of thing, that's great. What this page will show, right hand column at the bottom, if a map has collectibles, and around the map there'll be things you can pick up and you get some money for finding them. Those vary on maps for values and amounts, and some maps don't have collectibles at all, but they are there if you want to go around a map and do collectibles, if that's your thing. Then we're on to our game settings. Again, fairly straightforward. We can pause the game at any point. We can change the name of our game. Auto save interval, like I said, on or off. Timescale we've looked at. Economy we've looked at. Traffic on or off. If you're finding you're struggling driving around with equipment and machinery and the traffic's getting in your way, depending on what sort of map you're on, you can turn the traffic off. Seasonal growth, yes or no. Now, the difference with this is if you have seasonal growth on, you have a time to plant, you have a time to harvest, and if you don't harvest in time, your crops will wither and die. So if you don't get your harvest in by the end of that harvest window, your crops will wither and die. If you turn that off, you can plant and harvest whenever you want, but it will still take a certain amount of months for your crops to grow. So if I put wheat in the ground and it takes 5 months for my crop to grow, I can then after 5 months, when it says it's ready to harvest, I can harvest it. But I'm not beholden to the crop calendar at that point. I can plant and harvest whenever. So that's your choice, but this is another important one. How many days do you want in your month? So at the moment, 1 day is representing an entire month. I can go from 1 day right the way through if I'm feeling particularly bonkers, and I can set it realistically up to 28 days. So every day you skip will be another day in the month, and you can run a full 28-day month if you want to. If you want to, it's entirely up to you. You can fix your visual month. So if you don't want the dynamic change in the seasons, which I always leave on because it's brilliant, your seasons will change as you go through, and you'll see the leaves come off the trees. You'll get snow on the ground. It feels winter. It's cold. You get frost. When the spring starts and everything grows on the trees and the bushes and the branches, and it looks fantastic. But if that's not your thing, and you don't like the wintry feel, you don't want the rain or you'll still get rain, but if you don't want it to be that horrible autumny feel, you can fix that visual. You can turn that on. You can pick a month. You can say, well, I love July, I'm going to leave it on July, and it doesn't matter what happens in the rest of the game, it will always look like it's July. Again, I don't have it off. I prefer to have all the dynamic visuals. Snow on or off, it's great, it's fun, it's exciting when snow's on and you get snowfalls. Sometimes you'll go for an entire year, you won't get any snow at all. After you've had snow a few times, you might think, oh, actually, you know what, it drives me up the wall, I'm not interested. You can turn that off, that's up to you. Crop destruction. In real life, if you drive across a crop, you're going to destroy it. If I drive a tractor right through a field that's growing, I'm going to destroy crop. If you've got crop destruction on, that will happen. If you turn that off, you can drive through a field and it won't cause any damage at all. Again, that's your choice. If you're just starting out, periodic ploughing, that will give you the option to plough your field, and that will give you a better yield if you plough when it suggests you plough your field, but you can turn it off. Field stones, if you plough, cultivate, do certain things, it brings stones up out of the ground which need to be collected. If they don't get collected, they can damage your equipment again. If you find that frustrating or annoying, you can turn it on or off. Lime, that's your pH level in the ground. You can have lime spreading on or off. Weeds growing, whether you need to then use a weeder or herbicide to get rid of them. Again, that's your choice. You can have it on or off. Dirt, normal, fast or off. So how dirty your equipment gets, or it doesn't get dirty at all, it's entirely up to you. Slow, normal. I know I have mine on normal. Automatic engine start. Now this is an important one, and I'll show you why. At the moment, automatic engine start is on. So if I go to my pickup truck, which is here, and I get in, that started automatically. I didn't do anything. I jumped in that vehicle, the engine started automatically, and I can drive away. But when I get out of that vehicle, the engine automatically turns off, which is okay if you're the sort of person that forgets to turn your engine on and off. However, I'm going to set that to off. So when I get in, it doesn't start, and I have to look at my menu, R1 and square. I can start my engine, I can turn my engine off, and I can get out of my vehicle. Because there are certain pieces of equipment in game that require them to be hooked up to another machine. They need to be hooked up to a tractor or whatever it is, and the engine needs to be running for that piece of equipment to continue to run. If you have automatic engine start off, as soon as you get out of the vehicle, the engine stops and the piece of machinery stops that you're attached to. So that's an important one. I think automatic engine start, I always have that turned off. Stop and go braking, that's just down to, if I drive forward, and I stop, whether or not I keep my finger on stop and it will automatically reverse. If I turn that to off and keep my finger on stop, it will stop, but it will stay there. I have to release my finger and then go again, and then it will release. So it depends whether you want that sort of a feeling or whether you're changing into reverse gear or not. That's entirely up to you. Trailer fuel limit. Now you can fill a trailer to its absolute capacity, right to the very top, and it will fill up to whatever literage it says it will hold. If you have that turned on, there is a maximum load for every piece of equipment and machinery. A maximum load for what it will hold. If you have that turned on, you can't fill it to the very top. You will fill it up to its axle weight, what it will allow you in real life to do, which gives you a bit of realism. Fuel usage, fairly obvious, low, normal, or high. So I normally have mine on low, but it's up to you. And then you've got these. So this is if you're hiring workers to do jobs. I turn all of these off, because if you hire a worker and you've got those turned on, that will automatically buy, whether it's fuel, seed, fertilizer, slurry or manure, whatever job you're doing, it will buy it. So the whole time the worker's working, it will be charging you for whatever that item is. I have it all turned off because you don't want to get caught out with extra costs on things. Again, it's a small thing, but something if you jump in and think, I want to do contracts and start doing contracts or hiring workers on your own fields, and you can't work out why it's costing you a fortune, that could be why. If we come back from there, that's the last on that menu, and we come down again, general settings. So the help window, I've already said on or off. Colorblind mode, fairly straightforward. That can help with if you have colorblind issues, certain colors. Interactive zone markers, on or off. As you can see, you've got these blue discs everywhere. These zone markers, and often you have hazard mark strips around places which will tell you where to drop things off, load things up, where things are and how things work. You can turn those off completely. So if you want a more realistic gameplay feel, you can turn those off. But if you're not sure where something is, if it's a new mod, if it's a new map, have those turned on, familiarise yourself with where everything is, and then you can turn them back off again. That's up to you. Information trigger you can have on or off. Sometimes you'll have information markers around maps which will give you extra information on the map. You can have those. I normally have those turned off, but it's up to you. Then the field info screen I generally always have on. You don't have to, but when you come up to something, bottom right, it will tell you information about whatever that is. So that silo at the moment is empty. If there was stuff in it, it would tell me what was in it. If I go up to my vehicle, it will tell me who it's owned by, how much fuel there is in it. Sometimes it tells you the damage and stuff. I think it's actually alright at the moment, it's at 100%. If you go to your fields, it will give you your field info. So who the field's owned by, the crop type, what state it's in for growth, what yield bonus you're going to get, whether it's fertilised or not, and then in blue, it will tell you what it needs. Whether it needs lime, whether it needs ploughing, whether it needs rolling or mulching or various different things, and again, if you're not sure what any of those are, there are loads of tutorials out there to find out what they are, but that's your field info screen. I generally speaking have that on most of the time. Then we come down to our money unit. Now this is fairly limited. We've got dollars, pounds or euros, but if you feel like whatever map you're on you want to set it to a specific thing, you can. As we're on an American map, I've got it on dollars, but that will change your icon up in the HUD. Again, measuring unit miles or kilometers, Celsius or Fahrenheit, depending where you're from, acres or hectares. Then you've got your radio options. Again, I said I'd have mine turned off because I'm on creating content, but you can have that on. Then you've got vehicle only or always. So if you're in the vehicle, the radio is playing. When you get out of the vehicle, it stops, or you can have it on all the time. It's entirely up to you, and then you can set that as well from the menus as you go. Then you've got reset vehicle cameras. So that remembers the camera vehicle for each position once you exit. I generally have that turned off. Indoor camera suspension. So this is if you want this to feel more realistic. So if it's turned on, the camera follows the movement of the seat suspension. So as you're bouncing along a road, it might make you feel sick, and if it does, turn that on or off. It's up to you. I have that on, so as you're going along, it gives you a more realistic feel of the terrain. So if you're bouncing along rough terrain, it moves around. Dynamic vehicle camera, same sort of thing. As you're driving, if you tip on a hillside or go up a hillside, the camera follows that tilt. If you turn that on, it stays horizontal with the environment, which I feel you lose a bit of immersion from that, but again, that's your choice if it makes you feel sick. Invert wire look, we already had an option for that. Easy arm control, so this is for cranes and things like that. You can have that on or off if you want to simplify things. As you get a little bit better at the game, you might want to turn that off, but you might want to have it on. Camera sensitivity, how quickly your camera moves, again, that's down to a personal preference. Vehicle arm sensitivity, so that's for anything, a piece of equipment that has something that moves on it. That will be how fast the crane moves, that kind of thing. Steering sensitivity, again, have that turned up too high and it will whip around too quickly, too slow, and it will be too sluggish. You will find the sweet spot for that for you personally. Then we have our gear shift mode. Again, if you are starting out in the game, have that on automatic, but if you get a bit more advanced, you're feeling a little bit more daring, you can set that to manual. So any vehicle that has a manual transmission, you can actually have it set so you change gear as you go. Adds a lot of immersion to the game. Can be a bit fiddly, can be a bit difficult, but you've got the option. Then you've got what your speedometer will show, whether it's the vehicle speed or the engine speed. Switch to trains. If the map's got a train, you have that turned on, you should be able to switch through to being on that train. Wood harvester, automatic cutting, that's if you are using a wood harvester for cutting down trees. It puts a little marker and it automatically adjusts that harvester header onto the tree. Then you've got your volume settings, which we saw in the main menu already. If we come down one more, we've got the Farming Simulator Academy and all the help window we've already looked at, which is great. So, next thing then that I was going to show you. Now, I'm not going into all of the menus, but if we go L1 and main paddle, it takes us to our build menu. Build menu is important for placing anything. Building things, you've got the option for, well, all the things, again, this is not a deep dive into this, but you've got buildings, we've got productions we're going to have a look at in a moment. You've got factories and sell points and greenhouses and orchards. Like I said, there is so much to this game. Animals and animal pens. You've got decoration, so you can add in buildings and fences and lighting and stuff like that. Then you've got your landscaping tool. That's a bit more advanced. I would avoid that when you're just starting out with the game. My advice would be, as well, if you're starting out, have a test map. Pick one of your slots and have a map that you can just go on and have a play around with. That you can just adjust stuff and try stuff, and it doesn't matter if it goes wrong. Because if you have your automatic save turned off, you can play around with everything, come out of it, and it will go back to your previous save, and it doesn't matter what you've done on that map, it won't have had any impact or effect. If you try and do landscaping and stuff on a map that you've been playing on for a while and you've got established and you make a mistake, it can be heartbreaking and devastating. But that's quite an advanced tool, like I said. But it's in here. You can landscape, you can change the landscape, you can paint new textures, you can add trees and plants, you can do all sorts of stuff. So that's your build menu. But what I am going to do on here, we're going to go to production, I'm going to go to generators, and this was the one I suggested you put in. It's the government subsidy signs. So the government subsidy signs, if you decide, you know what, I just want to try everything, I want to experience everything, I've already shown you that you can borrow money from the bank. But then obviously you've got loan payments on that. If you want to put a load of money in, and this is the quickest, easiest way of doing it, you can do it through multiplayer and various different things, but this is the quickest, easiest way. You can place as many of these as you want, and they don't cost anything to place. So I can move them and then press X to place them. I can rotate them, I can do whatever I want. And then once I've used them, I can delete them. So you can come and you can delete them. I can place as many of these as I want. Don't go mad because you can clog your game up, but you can put a load of these in. Once you put a load of those in and come out to my menu, and I want to go to my option for, let's go back down to there, my time scale. So I'm going to go back down and go to 360, which speeds up time. Once it's gone past an hour, which we've already gone past, you'll notice my money now says 7,449,981. That's how much money I've got in my bank account now. Now, if you're playing a realistic gameplay, or you've decided you're going to do a storyline and you want to immerse yourself completely, you're probably not going to want to do that. But my advice would be, if you're starting out and you've got a test map and you want to try and experience a whole load of stuff, if you're that sort of person that's not necessarily methodical, you've got more of a scattergun approach to things, you think, I just want to try everything. Kid in a candy store running around like, I want to try this and this and this and this and this. Put some subsidy signs in, put a load of money in, then you can go into your menus here. So if I go in, press my main paddle, that takes me to my vehicle menus. So you've got vehicles, you've got tools and equipment, you've got objects, pallets, big bags, bales, stuff you can buy. You've got packs in here, so you can come in and you can, if you're not sure what equipment you need for a particular task, I can say, if I'm going to do potatoes and I click on this under packs, that will give me a selection of machinery and equipment that I might need for doing potatoes. I can go down to used vehicles. There is a used vehicle market. You can pick up cheap equipment and machinery, but that is damaged and may need repair. Again, I'm not deep diving into all this, but showing you the menu is here. We've got owned items. That tells you everything that you actually have, and you can sell stuff as well. You don't have to have it. I can click on that and I can sell that if I want to. I can buy new stuff. But here's the next thing. If you are on console, if you look up to the top right, it shows you lots of little squares, and mine says 1,289 of 4,400. You have a slot limit on console, depending on whether you're old gen or new gen consoles. And when you go onto a new piece of equipment or machinery, you will see down the bottom that it has a number. So it's got various different information. Again, I'm not deep diving into this, all of this stuff, but it says -5 on that one. That's how many slots it requires to put that piece of equipment into the game. So when I click on that, that will add 5 slots to my total up the top. If I hit my limit, the game will, I mean, you'll get close to that limit and the game will be struggling to render everything into game. But the good thing about it is, if I get one of those, for example, and I can pick a load of options, I'm not going to all the options of every piece of machinery and equipment, but if you come in to buy something, it will often give you options for all these different things, colours of things and license plates and wheel brands. Again, that's a little bit more of a deep dive. But if I buy that and come back out of the menus, if I go back into that menu and look on that again, that now says -1. So it's 5 slots for the first one. If you buy duplicates of everything, the slot count comes down because the game doesn't need to render as much for duplicates. It has to render more in for the first of anything, but if you get a duplicate, it says, well, I've already got that. I've already got all of those facets. I don't need all that. So it requires less slots. So if you are on console, if you've downloaded this because you've got it free on PlayStation, you will have a slot limit. So whilst you can put in as much money as you want, you could go bonkers and say, I want a harvester by every field, I want a seeder by every field, and you could duplicate as much stuff as you want to. You can, but be aware there is a limit to how much stuff you can have. So I'm trying to think of everything I've covered. This has taken a while, I know it has. So next thing I want to do, I want to show you one last thing before we finish. Now I probably won't have covered everything. I'm trying to think. Covered season pass, slots, gameplay, government subsidy signs. That just gives you the ability to go on, and the main map, if we go around our main map, we can click on this and this. So bottom left, if you look at our options, it says farmland or map overview. So that's the map overview. That tells you the crops and crop types and various things. If I go to farmland, I can then go to each individual plot, and then when it says select, I can select that, and that will tell me down the bottom what the value of that plot is, how much it would cost me to buy that plot of land. If I want to buy that plot of land and I've got enough money, I can buy it. So if I do that and buy it, then come back down and back up again, that's now showing in blue, which means I own that field now, so I can buy new land. I'm going to jump across on the map. I said, remember, you can jump. I sent that vehicle out there as well. I can tag the place so I can visit. So we briefly talked about production chains. We talked about collectibles. There's a collectible just to show you. If I click that, that collectible was $1,000 for that collectible. Now again, this is not a deep dive, but just to show you, you can play the game as just a farmer. My job is to go out, prepare my fields, plant a crop, grow the crop, harvest the crop, sell the crop. Absolutely, you can just do that. If you're just starting out, that would be what I would do. Maybe just do some contract work or whatever you want to do, but just get used to the machinery, the equipment and the processes. It will start getting more complicated, but if you follow that tutorial right off the start, that will give you some good idea of some start machinery and equipment. As it gets more complicated, as I said, there's loads of content out there that will help you and guide you along the way. But as far as a production chain goes, what does that mean? Well, when you've got all of your crops, whatever crop it might be, you don't have to just stop at selling it. You can take it another step further to a production chain, which takes it another step along. So I'll just show you this one, and there are loads available. There are loads of modded ones available. There are loads of the map. This is just an example. If I click onto here, buy building bakery, 50,000 to buy the bakery. If I click yes, I've purchased that building. Top left, if I've still got my help window open, it will say manage production point. If I click on that, it now tells me my bakery, I can produce bread and I can produce cakes. It then gives me a recipe in the middle. So the production, if I'm making bread, I need flour. If I bring flour to this bakery, I can make bread. So if I put flour in here, which I don't have at the moment, but if I bring it flour, it will produce bread, which will come out of there. You can store it, I can sell it, or I can distribute it on somewhere else. So if somewhere else needs bread, like I say, it's a little bit complicated, but you can do that. This is just to show you that it's available. If I decide I want to do cake, all of those things are required. Flour, sugar, milk, eggs, butter and strawberry. So you can see with all the various different things available in game, I would need to have a grain mill. I would need to take my grain, I would need to put my grain in, and my grain mill will produce flour. I can then bring my flour here if I want to, or I can just sell the flour directly. I can take various different crops and things to a sugar mill to produce sugar. If I've got cows, and some mods will do sheep milk, I can bring my milk here. Chickens will do eggs. My dairy, I can take my milk there and we can produce butter. And greenhouses, you can do tomatoes, and you can do strawberries and you can do lettuce. So I can bring my strawberries here. This is just an introduction to, but production chains, there are so many available with so many different things. This is one of those games that when people say, oh, I completed such and such a game in such and such an amount of hours, this is not a game that you can complete. This game carries on and on and on, thanks to, in a large part, the modding community and map making community, which keeps it fresh and keeps it going. And as I said, November 14th, the next big expansion comes out with another new map, 3 new crop types, parsnip, carrot and red beet, with new machinery and equipment that comes with that, on top of all the crop types you've already seen in the menus on here. That's just a brief introduction to it. Like I say, there are so many different ones, and you can see where you end up going down such a rabbit hole, and it is addictive and it is fun. My last piece of advice before I go, and I think I'm probably going to run out of time, is just have fun. Just come on and play. Just play the game the way you want to play it. If you want to be ultra realistic, play ultra realistic. Set it on hard. Don't put any extra money in. Be as, do it as difficult as you want to. Set all the settings how you want to. Adjust them. You will find over time you will find your style of gameplay, the way you like to play, the style of map you like to play on. You might play on maps that mimic or mirror places you live or you've been, or you might decide I want to just try something new and go somewhere I've never been before. Some maps are incredibly immersive, incredibly picturesque, and make you feel like you're absolutely there. Some maps are incredibly functional and have loads of productions and loads of cool stuff to do, and you have blends of all of them. Just enjoy it. Play the way you want to play. Enjoy the game the way you want to play it. As you get better, you get more immersed, and you try more stuff out. You might want to dive into multiplayer. I've shown you the multiplayer option. The other option for multiplayer is you can have a separate multiplayer server provider. Mine is provided by Gportal. There is a link in the description for a discount on a Gportal server. That means it doesn't put any pressure or on your system, so it's a separate server platform, and you can access that. You can have it running all the time. My Discord, again, link in the description. We have 2 servers running for multiplayer all the time off my Discord if you want to join the Discord. But again, other content creators and YouTubers are out there. If my style of gameplay, the way I do it, the way I speak, whatever I'm doing is not your jam, there are plenty of other guys out there doing great content all the time. Like I say, this was just an introduction to some of the menus, a few top tips, a few things to try out. I hope you found this useful and informative in some way, shape or form. If you have, please give us a like. If you don't subscribe yet, please do. If you want to leave a comment, feel free, and if you want to share this video, then please be my guest. Whatever you should choose to do. Thanks for watching.